Hello, I'm Dr. John Bartemus, and I'm here today to discuss vitamin D. Now, on my video blogs, I've covered vitamin D many times in regards to its positive impact in preventing cancers such as breast cancer, as its ability to boost your immune system so that you can prevent infections or to grow the baby's immune system. If you choose not to vaccinate, vitamin D is one of the key pieces in providing immunity and proper immune system growth and development in an infant. Today I want to address the infant some more and vitamin D levels specifically. Now, whether you live in a sunny area of the country, as I do, or a not so sunny area as in the Northeast, vitamin D is going to be very important. And regardless of whether you live down south or up north, you probably are not getting sufficient sun exposure to be sufficient in itself to provide you with healthy vitamin D levels. Most people work inside all day, every day, and don't have the exposure necessary to be sufficient and optimal in terms of vitamin D. So a breaking research study just came out September 28th in the journal Pediatrics that looked at infant vitamin D levels and are they impacted by supplementing the infant and or supplementing the mother who is exclusively breastfeeding the infant through 6 months. Now this is a groundbreaking study because first of all there's always a debate between should I breastfeed, should I not breastfeed. You absolutely should breastfeed, that's how nature intended it. But then there's also the debate over should we supplement the baby with vitamin D or is supplementing the mother enough to raise the baby's level. So what they looked at in this study was, is supplementing mom with vitamin D going to provide the baby with enough vitamin D through the breast milk to get baby to optimal? Now this study was nice because it was split up between two locations. One location in Charleston, South Carolina, where it is sunny and beautiful most of the year, and then another location was Rochester, New York, where it is gray and dreary much of the year. And what they found was, yes, latitude definitely impacts vitamin D levels, as does skin color. The darker your skin, the lower your vitamin D, and the higher your need to supplement and make sure that you are somehow getting more in to raise your levels. So what the study did was they looked at 334 mother-infant pairs, and they divided them into a couple groups. They divided them into breastfeeding infant who is also supplemented with 400 IUs of vitamin D a day, and mother is supplemented with 400 IUs a day. And then there are breastfeeding infants where the infant was not supplemented but mother was supplemented with 2400 IU a day, and breastfeeding infant where infant was not supplemented but mother was supplemented with 6400 IUs per day. And they followed these mother-infant pairs all the way to 7 months. And what they found was at the start of the study, which began with mothers who were 4 to 6 weeks postpartum, so the babies were 4 to 6 weeks old, and they drew vitamin D levels, and they found that almost all the babies were deficient in regards to vitamin D. They also drew the mother's levels, and it was all over the map in terms of where the mothers were. And then what they did was for the next 6 months they had the babies in each of those groups that I described. 400 for mom and baby, 2400 only for mom, 6400 only for mom. And what they found is at the end of the 6 months, the mothers who breastfed all the way through, which was only about 28% of the study, which is sad, only 28% of the moms made it to 6 months breastfeeding, but it's accurate because that actually reflects what happens in the general population, so that's useful information to us. What they found is that mothers supplementing with 6400 IUs of vitamin D a day was just as good as supplementing the baby by itself. And why is that important? Well, the American Academy of Pediatrics recommends that all babies are supplemented daily with 400 IUs of vitamin D from birth on. And they say that because most mothers are deficient and the breast milk is a low source of vitamin D for the babies. So why would that be? Well, because most mothers are not getting sufficient sun exposure and babies are not getting sufficient sun exposure, so they want to supplement the baby to ensure that they get it, because they realize the importance of vitamin D for baby's health. Now, the 6,400 IU per day group did just as well as the baby supplementing, as I mentioned. And that's important because even though the American Academy of Pediatrics recommends that all babies be supplemented, the studies show that only about 10 to 12% of babies, or 10 to 12% of parents, follow that recommendation. So by and large, most babies are not supplemented with D. So if mom isn't supplementing, baby's going to be deficient. And that's going to impact baby's growth in terms of bones. That's going to impact baby's growth in terms of immune system and its susceptibility to infection and sickness. And long term, if that person stays vitamin D deficient, it's going to increase their risk for cancer and all-cause mortality, or death from all causes, as well as create or make them susceptible to a pro-inflammatory state. So we want to get babies optimal in terms of vitamin D levels as soon as possible after birth. So how do we make this practical? Well, if you're an expectant mother or you are a postpartum mother, you need to begin supplementing immediately with vitamin D, and that's vitamin D3 cholecalciferol. And the research shows you should be doing at least 6,400 IUs per day. And by doing that and exclusively breastfeeding the baby, you're going to bring baby's levels up to sufficient and optimal. So 6,400 IUs a day at least. The research says that they found no adverse reactions whatsoever, and this group has studied vitamin D and maternity for decades. And they've also found people supplementing daily for a year and a half at 10,000 IUs with no negative impact or adverse events. So if you're a mom and you want the best for your baby, please begin supplementing at least 6,400 IU per day per this research from the journal Pediatrics. It's one of the most inexpensive, cost-effective ways that you can give your baby a head start on a healthy, happy life. I'm Dr. John Bartemus, and if you'd like to find out more information, check out my website at acceleratechiropractic.com, functionalmedicinecharlotte.com, or johnbartemus.com, and look at my further YouTube videos and podcast. Have a great day.